Test 1, 2, 3. All right. Hey, Felix. Hey, Blair. All right. This setup is a little different than what I'm used to, so let's see what I can do. Okay. So let me just getting a few things ready. If you're in the chat, let me know. I'm going to start publicizing this a little bit because I'm a little bit of a mess today. So let's try to share this a little bit. All right, give me 2-3 minutes, get a glass of water, get whatever you need to be with us for about 30 minutes now. All right. All right, if you're in the chat and you can hear me, let me know. Let me know how you got here, what you're interested in. And yeah, it should be a good one. I'm really excited for this one. Okay, I'm just gonna clean up my desktop here before I show it to you. And yeah, so we're gonna be working in Parabola, Webflow, and Placid App. So Placid App, actually new app I haven't used ever before. Oh, hey, Steven. How are you? I was really impressed with what you sent me this morning. Sorry I didn't dig into as much as I'd like, but yeah, I was really impressed. Steven is like he's the guru. He gives me the ideas. So let me actually get my camera on here so you guys can actually see that I exist. Is that it? All right, you should see my face. Hello. So yeah, this is a whole new computer, whole new setup. So this live stream is a little bit different than what I've done in the past. You know, from my side, from your side, it should be exactly identical. So yeah, let me get the Notion up. We've got some people in here. I'm pretty excited about this. Okay. So yeah, let me get this started. We're going into normal scene. All right. So you should see the Notion doc here. If that's not the case, you know, let me know in the chat. The chat's going to be to the right here. I'm going to quit that. All right. So welcome to the 10th live stream. I never thought I'd get to 10, but here we are. And essentially, you know, just introducing what we're going to do today is that I saw a tweet from Pat Walls around how he uses Placid App to automatically generate thumbnails. So those thumbnails is, what I mean by that is, it's this stuff right here that's at the top of your blog post. So mine are not going to be, they're not going to look good. My goal here is really just to show you the functionality, but hopefully you'll be able to make them unique, make them yours. And the goal is really to automate that. When I click this little publish button right here, it goes and automatically generates my thumbnails. So let's say I'm automatically creating blog posts, or I created 10 new blog posts and I want to have this thumbnail created automatically. And we want to do it in kind of a low code, no code environment. So we're going to be using Parabola to do that. So just our roadmap today, it's actually, you know, a relatively complex flow, in the sense that it's quite simple, but there's quite a bit of APIs that we're going to be working with, namely Webflow, Placid, and oh yeah, those are the two actually. Those are the only two. I'm not used to my camera being here. I used to be it here. Okay. So just going to overview the stack just so you understand. Then we're going to talk quickly about webhook trigger in Parabola, which is still under beta. You know, the Parabola team wanted to make sure I share that it's under beta, and you can see it when we're going to be working with it. And then we're actually going to do the flow where we import our new CMS, new blog posts, and then, you know, ping the Placid App API to create the thumbnail and then export it back to Webflow. So this means that whenever you click deploy on your website, it's going to, you know, do all that work automatically. And you could imagine that if you want to tweet or save the image or put it into an Airtable, you can do all of that from Parabola. Makes sense? I feel like I'm going a little fast. So I'm kind of thinking 20 to 30 minutes to build the whole thing. So yeah, bear with me here. Let me know in the chat if I'm going too quickly, too slowly. And yeah, let's get started. So first, a review of the Webflow CMS. So I'm always working with my I have an online class that I put into Webflow, and I essentially want to create a thumbnail that has the section name and the title of the class. So it'll look like this, where we're going, sales CRM at the top. Again, everything here is editable in Placid App. So don't worry that it doesn't look good. I'm sure you'll make it look good. Hey, Colleen, it's been a while. It's good to see you. And essentially what we want to do is this testing Placid. That is going to be where we put the image. So we want to use variables from the Webflow CMS in Placid App to generate the template, or not to generate the thumbnail. So that is the review of Webflow CMS. Unfortunately, I think there's a lag. I didn't set this up properly. So if you do have questions when you hear this, do go ahead and put them in the chat, and I'll kind of go back and forth. That's on me. So I'm actually going to do Placid App before I do the Webflow webhook. So Placid App is this very simple application. I'm here in the interface. It's placid.app. And very simply, you create these templates. And for each template, you get a template ID that we're going to use in the API. And you put your dimensions, you have a little drag and drop functionality. So you can set background image, background style, font, things like that. But really the important part are these little variables. So this is what we're going to pass into our API. So I have top text, which is this top text right here. Appropriately named, you're going to say, and you would be right. And then we have title, which is this right here. And so essentially what Placid App does, as opposed to, it's kind of like a Canva, it's an API on top of Canva. So, what happens before every one of these live streams, I go into Canva and then I say, okay, what is the title of my live stream? And then I copy paste that and I put it in Canva, and then I export that and then I upload it to OBS. That, I should be dogfooding that. I haven't actually done that, but that would be a use case for this. So we get some variables, and the Placid App API allows us to create images on the fly using those variables. So the two we're going to use is top text and title. And just to kind of give you an idea of what the output is. So let's say I change the title to "This is a live stream," and top text is, this is the top text, it creates a URL. So this is a URL that if you're embedding into your website, it's just creating. You could use this just to test, but Placid App is actually going to host it for us via the API. So you could imagine many more variables, or this is kind of expandable. I've used really the basic just to show you how it works. You can move this around and things like that. Does that make sense? Camera is here. Again, too fast, too slow. Really what we're going to be mainly using is the API. So don't get intimidated by this. We're really just going to use some variables to input, and then it'll return the URL of the image that we're then going to send to Webflow. Yeah, I frankly, Colleen, to answer your question, to redoing a site and then using new images and new styles. Yeah, ultimately you can run this once. You take all of the variables that you want in your images that come from your blog post or whatever. You specify the new size in Placid App, and then you run once in Parabola for every single CMS item that you have. So that's definitely a use case. You could imagine doing this for listing websites or tweets or anything like that. So really, what was interesting about Placid App was just its extendability, and there's many use cases that you can do with Placid App. So if you have any other ideas, feel free to share them in chat. Always interested to hear what you guys think in terms of how to use this. And I think we may have the founder of Placid App who's in the chat, maybe. So he'll be able to also answer your questions, and he would love to hear your thoughts. Okay, so Webflow webhooks. So because we're trying to automate, oh, there he is. Hey, Aron. So it's kind of stressful to have the founder, because if I make a mistake, he's definitely going to know about it and let me know in the chat. So apologies for any mistake I make. Okay, so webhooks. Essentially, what a webhook is I tried to explain a webhook to someone this week, and it's essentially kind of like your applications are in a room, and a webhook is a way for one of your applications to tell other application that something has happened. So it's kind of like yelling, and whoever wants to hear that can hear it. So in our case, we have a webhook that goes into Parabola, and it's going to tell Parabola when we deploy our website. So you can create new webhooks here. So the other webhooks I have are actually automatically generated when you connect Webflow to Integromat or Zapier. But in this case, we did it manually. And so we're going to specify this webhook in Parabola. So I think that is the intro. I hope, does that make sense? Yeah, Armin, if it's stressful for you, imagine for me. Imagine if this doesn't work, which, it's happened in the past. So, fingers crossed that this works properly. Yeah, so I think with that's kind of the foundation of what we're going to do. So we have a webhook that's going to tell Parabola when we deploy our website, and then we're going to have another automation that is, we'll check for new blog posts, create the thumbnails on the fly, send them back to Webflow. So let's jump into Parabola. Because the webhook functionality is a little bit new, I'm going to talk through it. I won't go through the steps of kind of putting it together, but there's a step-by-step here, which is essentially to get the data from the webhook, you need to run your flow at least once. So I've already done that. So what that means is this is the last time I published my website, and all the webhook from Webflow does, it gives you a published time and a published site. So I know that I've published my website, and this webhook will just be telling Parabola that, hey, Aron or Automate All the Things website just deployed. And from there, we're going to run another flow. So, the way it's set up here, I'm sorry, Sachi and the Parabola people in the chat, it's still a little, I don't want to use the word janky, it's still new. But all I do is I have a CSV export that sends me an email that says, hey, the website has just been deployed. And then I have a Parabola run. So when the webhook triggers, when Parabola is notified that there is a new deployment, it goes ahead and runs another flow. That flow is when we're actually going to be doing the work. So maybe, if I had to redo this live stream, I'd probably talk about the flow first and then set up the webhook, but this is a lesson to you now. Create the flow and then connect the webhook. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to publish so we can test it. But first, before setting up the webhook, well, I've already got it set up, but we're going to go ahead and create our Parabola flow. So I'm going to start from scratch, which is always a little scary, but I'll show you what we want to do. And this is right here. So first, we import our Webflow CMS. So this is all of the classes that are in my CMS. Then we're going to filter just on one. You won't have to do this. I do this just to save time. So I filter on a number. Then we're going to go ahead and ping Placid App for that one record. And Placid App is going to return a URL. This one right here. So this is my title at the top, the title of that lesson, and then the section. And then we're going to send it back to Webflow. So this is going to be a patch call, and then we're going to update a live CMS item to get the new thumbnail. Does that make sense? Too fast, too slow? We're about 10 minutes in, so just let me know. And we're going to rebuild this from scratch step by step. So first, we're going to have our Webflow import. You can use the Webflow import, but frankly, it's just as useful as a API import. It just kind of, actually, let's do it. So let's go into the Webflow documentation. All right. Thanks, Colleen. Thanks for letting me know. So we want to import a whole collection. So we want a collection. We want list. We want all items in a collection. Get all items for a collection. So this is the ending that we want. This right here, like that. So I need to go and get the collection ID, and I need a bearer token. So to do that, I need to kind of freeze you out for a second, go get that information. I trust you guys, but I don't trust people coming after you, like watching on the live stream. So with that, and I need my collection ID. Webflow actually just, to the joy of Matthew, now has collection IDs in the CMS itself. So let me show you that. Let me get back into the normal view here. All right. So if I go into Webflow, if you're wondering what your collection ID is, it's now in your CMS. If you go into settings, it's right here, collection ID. So that's what we're going to be using here. That's not the right flow. Here we go. So I've gone ahead and created my API call, and it gives me this table. Now, what this means is that this is like a table itself, items. So we want to create a nested key. That nested key is going to be items, and that should give us our whole table. So now we have every single item in that CMS collection. So next step, I'm going to go ahead and filter just so we can keep one. So I have a lesson number. Let's go with 4 because I know that one I haven't done before. There we go. So that makes sense. And then what we want to do is go ahead and call the Placid App API and create a thumbnail for this this blog post or whatever it is going to be that you have in Webflow. And we're going to input a few variables. So we're going to go ahead and do API enrichment. And what API enrichment does, it goes through every single row in your kind of parabola table and pings the API with variables. So let's go into the Placid App documentation. So we're going to be using the REST API. Yeah, so essentially you need authorization bearer token. So we're going to add that into, no, it's not a nested key, custom header, authorization. I'm going to hide you out for a second here while I copy paste that. There we go. Okay, that should be good. Application JSON, great. So let me get you back. Again, I only have one screen now, so this is a little more complicated than it used to be. And let's go get the endpoint. So the endpoint is, let's try to see if we can get a full call here somewhere. Let me go back to the overview. Authentication. I know it's somewhere. Let me go back into Placid App API token. Here we go. So that's going to be our URL. So I need to input the template unique ID here. So that's our URL. Let's go get our template ID. I hope, Armin, you're taking notes of how I'm getting mixed up in your documentation here a little bit. I'd love to be able to like have the documentation actually tie in to my templates. So if you can have like a little like code snippet right here, that'd be really useful. Just food for thought. Yeah, so I already have that as a header key. And so then we need to actually have a body. So it shouldn't be it should be a post. There we go. So this seems good. And now for the body itself, if we're looking at the documentation, where is it? Generate image, right? So essentially for each, this is what it's going to return. We're going to always be there's a create now or create later, which returns a webhook where it's going to post a URL, but we're always going to create now because we want the URL right away and we can wait for it. So for each field, so this is going to be our field name. Ours is going to be top title and title. You specify its text, the text you want, the color, and if it's an image, you can do the image source. And then there's a few other options here. So you can also do a few options. So what we're going to do is only just specify the text and keep everything else very simple, right? So I just want the text and the color white. So let me go get that code. So this is pulled from the documentation. I'm going to copy paste this. What it's essentially saying is I want to create the image now. For top text, I want the variable name. Name is from our CMS, and it's between brackets, so we know that it's coming from right here, signing up to Airtable. Color is white, and then for title, we want the variable section, which is working with one table, and then color is white. So if this works, fingers crossed, it should generate a URL that has working with one table, how to sign up. Fingers crossed, fingers crossed. It seems to have worked, but you never know with these things. All right, so now we've generated our image. We have a URL where we have signing up to Airtable and then working with one table. Could be anything. It could be the content of your tweet. The background image could be whatever. But I'm just happy that it worked. So now we have the image under API image URL. So the only remaining step is to update Webflow with this image. So we're gonna say in testing place ID, this variable right here, we want this right here. Does that make sense? I feel like I'm going maybe a little too fast, but I'm not sure. So now we want a export. So we're going to go back to the Webflow documentation and to the API. So Webflow CMS, we want to update live collection item. Now, what you can do is you can update in staging or live. I would recommend staging. So essentially you deploy to staging, you generate all of the thumbnails, and then you deploy to production. So you can do either. It really doesn't matter. Up to you guys. So we want to do a patch call. This is our the URL. So let's come here. Let me just go get. I can't copy paste both of those. Okay. Just let me get the URL here. And then while I have you guys kind of hidden, I'm actually going to go get the bear token. Okay. So let me pull you guys back in. There we go. Okay. So what I've done is I've specified my URL that I want to post to. So this specifies that go to collections, go to this collection, go to the items endpoint, and this ID, our ID comes from the table in Parabola. This one right here. So this says you can also have the IDs now somewhere, I think in Webflow. So if I select a specific item, I think it's at the ID is right here, right? So if you want to specify a specific ID, but it's always in your table in Parabola. And if you want it to be a little fancier, you can also put this as a variable as CID. Sure. I like to take risks. Let's do it. There we go. Okay. So we're saying update for this collection, this item, which is our new blog post. And what we want to specify in the body is just which variable we want to update. So let's go back here. So this is our little body right here, copy paste that. So fields, we want testing place ID right here. So note that I'm not putting it in little curly brackets because that is the name of the variable. It's not the actual value that's in each row. And for the value that we want to update it to is api.imageURL. So let me remove this curly bracket, API image URL, and let's keep like that. So I think, oh, I also need to specify a few more things here. right, version and content type. So that is something that if your flow isn't working, so you need content type is application JSON. Let me just copy paste this. This is like the #1 source of errors for me. And then we want accept version 1.0.0. Okay. Now, since this is an export step, we won't actually know if it works unless we publish and then run it. So that's what we're going to do. There we go. So this is always a little annoying because I got to publish. Let me give it a good name. This is going to be create thumbnails. Everyone with me? Still good? Always a little worried when the chat goes silent that, you know, either your brains are fried or you're tired. Let me know. So I'm going to publish. And we're going to run it. Probably going to have an error. I'm not. Yep, there we go. There's always an error. Okay, so there's definitely items. Okay, so there's an error in how we've defined our route. That's okay, that happens. Let me check with my cheat sheet here. I got to go back into draft. Okay, that seems fine. Okay, let's try that again. All I did was I just copy pasted my my endpoint. Yeah, I'm trying to, Colleen, I think I'm trying to do a little too many things in one live stream. I think this would have been sufficient without the webhooks. Okay. So am I missing something? Collections / items. So it didn't find it. That's interesting. Route not found. Okay. Let me go back into the blog title. Nope. Here we go. Okay. Okay, so the URL seems fine, and it's a patch call. Authentication seems fine. Accept version. Check here. This is interesting. You know, I'm thinking if I try it one more time, it's going to work. Oh, this is the other flow. So it's right here. Okay, that makes sense. That was my, there we go. Okay, let's try this again. We have to publish it. And let's run it. No. I do not understand why it's not working. Okay, accept version. That seems fine. JSON. Oh, I see why. Okay. It's because I'm doing a post call instead of a patch. There we go. See? there we go. Let's do that. Oops, apologies for that. Patch, we publish, and then we run it. All right. We still have another error. Okay, no, it seems to be working. So if that worked properly, we should go back into this lesson number 4. So let's go into lesson number 4, which is signing up to Airtable. Let's go here. Signing up to Airtable. There we go. And then we have our thumbnail that's automatically created. So just to summarize here, if I was to remove this filter and just let it run on every single CMS item, it would generate thumbnails for each of my classes, right, in my CMS. So if I go into signing up to Airtable, it doesn't actually show you the image, I don't think, because it's hosted somewhere else. This is only for when you upload it to Webflow. But as you can see, it clearly works. So now I completely forgot my Notion. So let me go back here. We did the import CMS, we filtered, we created a thumbnail, we exported to Webflow CMS. So I want to quickly talk about the trigger. So essentially, once you set up your webhook, which is here. No, this one here. No. Yeah, this one here. So before I had it on the kind of testing that I did. So let's do thumbnail, create thumbnails. And just to test it out, let's change the filter to the 5th lesson number. And then I'm going to deploy the website and just show you how the trigger works. But if you want to replicate this, you create a webhook input. You follow these 9 steps. It's essentially just specifying the URL that Webflow is going to send the webhook to. And you set up your other parabola run, which will be triggered once it catches the webhook. So let's test this out. There's 2 things we need to do. This one's, I'm going to publish it. And then I'm going to go to create thumbnails, row filter. I'm going to edit it to number 5. And, oh, I need to publish that. Publish, that's fine. 5, publish. And if all went well, I will publish my website. And this is where the magic happens, hopefully. Oh, webhook ran. Now it's doing the parabola run. The magic of the web. This is so great. So it processed 1 row. That's what we want. We go to run history. It seemed to have worked properly. So if I go into lesson number 5, which lesson is that? Lesson number 5, creating our first base. Come here, creating. That didn't, yeah, creating our first base, working with 1 table. So that's the title, that's the section. And if I go here, oh, doesn't seem to be working, but it's probably just a caching issue. Yeah, there we go. I don't know if that made sense. I'll actually look into why it didn't publish to production. I'll check that after. Yeah, so I'm gonna kind of stop this here. Happy to answer any questions now. Yeah, Colleen, like I've thought of using Unsplash, but there's 2 challenges. Is that then you kind of randomize what background you're getting, and it's really big photos. So the first you would need to get your Unsplash, then you would need to kind of find an API that minimizes it. So it is and hosts it for you. So it is quite a bit of work. But that is something you do. One thing you can do with Placid App as well is take screenshots of URLs. So that's another idea that I had. Yeah, I think there's a delay here, so I'm just going to kind of wait here. If you have any questions, although I'm always on Twitter at Aron Kor, Aron Kor, acornblood@gmail.com if you have questions. So yeah, now I just wait for the delay in your questions. Yeah, I've heard that before, Armin. It's good to see someone use your product. I'm glad that I can be kind of a guinea pig for you and for others. I know the Parabola team likes to see me work in Parabola and see all the mistakes that I make. So that's great. Yeah, no problem, Colleen. Anytime. Thanks for joining. I'm really honored that you guys show up and that you enjoy it. So it's always fun. Cool. I think, let me just make sure here. Let me make sure there are any questions left. I'm going to cut this section out probably anyway. So, okay. Well, that was Automate All the Things stream number 10. Subscribe, do whatever you need to do. And thanks for joining, and I'll see you around. Reach out to me on Twitter if there's anything. Cheers.